we are technically online. If anyone's there, type in the chat, let me know you're there. 15 minutes early. We're going to go in about 15 minutes to Makerspace, Milwaukee to check out their space. And we will see all around their space there in Makerspace, Milwaukee. Alright, looks like it's working. So if anybody is watching now, if you want to let me know that you are there. It seems to be functional. Alright, we are creeping along. We've got just a little while here. I wanted to get in and make sure that we were functional and live and rocking and rolling before the actual event. And I see here you are, you're coming in. Okay. Eccentric Nut, J.K. Timber Scraps, and James Phillips. Keep spooling. Well, give it a minute. It should clear up very soon. I had Facebook open so that I could make sure that it was working, and I also had YouTube open so that I could make sure that it was working. So I was kind of doubling up on a lot of stuff. So it should be a lot smoother. And we're gonna just kind of hang out here for a few minutes before we go over to the Milwaukee Makerspace. We're letting everything get ready, letting everybody get their ducks in a row. Is it working any better out there for anybody? I see some people commenting on YouTube, but I'm not seeing any comments coming in from Facebook. I know we're streaming on Facebook. At least I hope we are. We just popped up. Thank you, Chip. I appreciate the feedback. That way I don't have to try to open it up. Mark, thanks for checking in. Mark Ledford. Jillian, hey Jillian. Woot woot. The Mad Nutter Games, nice to see you here. We've got about 10 more minutes before we go live with this. Just about 10 minutes. Video's sketchy, huh? Well, we're hoping to clear out soon. We're hoping to get it a little bit smoother soon. A little bit choppy, huh? Oh, good. I'm glad it's getting better. Nice. It should continue to get better, I think. After I closed, I had Facebook and YouTube open, and I was kind of double dipping on the bandwidth. I closed them, so it should be much better. Thank you, Julianne and Julian Franklin, and Chip Clark, and Murray Roberts. I appreciate it. What you guys can't see is that I'm looking at Milwaukee Makerspace here, and they're testing out their camera, and I'm so jealous. Their space looks so cool. But we're not ready to go there yet. You gotta wait 10 minutes. 10 minutes. 3D Medic Vince, good evening. Nice to see you here. Thank you for joining us. Joe Blow, nice to see you here. Yes, DigiKey is awesome. We love DigiKey so much because they support us in everything we do, and when we need to get our parts, they get them to us quick. Here's a little DigiKey story for you. If you ever go to Adafruit and you're trying to buy something and Adafruit's out of stock, you can usually find the Adafruit boards that are out of stock from Adafruit on DigiKey. So keep that in mind. DigiKey sells all that stuff. Yeah, DigiKey, they've been really, really awesome partners. I don't know if you've seen them at the Maker Fairs. They always bring awesome stuff to the show. They've got great products. Oh man, I don't know how to refresh on a tablet. Eccentric Nut, I don't know how to refresh on a tablet without reloading the whole thing. The chat should flow on its own, so I don't know what to tell you there. You might just have to reload it. Sorry. Yeah. So, again, we're going to be going live with Milwaukee Makerspace in about 9 minutes. And this is all the first of our series of the Makerspace tours that we're going to be doing. Thanks to DigiKey. DigiKey sponsors us and helps us with these events. Have you ever been to DigiKey? Take a second to go check out digikey.com. Oh, yeah. The Adafruit DigiKey hints. That's from Don Roswick on YouTube. Thanks for the hints on Adafruit DigiKey. Yeah, I found that a couple times. Actually, I don't think I have it sitting here, but I've got like DigiKey editions of a few of the Adafruit boards. They're bright red instead of black because I needed to get them, and Adafruit was out of stock, and DigiKey had them in stock. So I got them straight from DigiKey. Always nice to be able to get what you need. All right, about 8 more minutes. Thank you for joining us. I see we've got people joining us and kind of trickling in. We've got about 8 more minutes before we go live with the Milwaukee Makerspace in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I don't know why. I always think I'm getting the wrong state when I say Wisconsin, but it is Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right? Yeah. So, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're going to be joining them in about 7 minutes. You know what I should do? I should build a big countdown timer for the next time that I do this that I can hold up on the getting ready to go. Because I don't want to start a live stream and just jump right into it. I want to give it a little time for people to join up and prepare themselves and tell their family to leave the house so they can have all the bandwidth. I want to give people time to get comfortable, take their shoes off, put their feet up, get a nice cold beverage, which I forgot to bring into my workshop for this. I don't have a drink, which is a bummer. I'm not going to go get one. I'll be all right. You people watching, who's working on projects tonight? What are you working on? Tell me in the chat. All right, we've got 6 minutes before we go live with the Milwaukee Makerspace in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And again, this is a live stream. So we'll be walking around the Makerspace, we'll be checking it out, we'll be looking at things, and you can type questions into the chat on Facebook. You can type questions into the chat on YouTube, and I will be able to answer them. This will also be archived on our YouTube channel, so that if you want to find it later, you can pull it up on our YouTube channel and watch it. And you may if you have to leave. That happens. Happens to me sometimes when I'm watching live streams. Alright. Soon. We're still at 6 minutes. 6 minutes to go. And then we're going to be going live to the Milwaukee Makerspace. So Eccentric Nut, when Eccentric Nut was young, Eccentric Nut on YouTube was young, they had only heard about Milwaukee tools, and they thought for some reason Wisconsin was inside of Milwaukee. Paul Burnside, go for it, you're here. Oh, Paul, so happy to have you here, Paul, on Facebook. But we're still going to wait 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. Don Roswick is in Wisconsin, and he's 3D printing a Tardis on a Creality CR10. I used to have a Tardis sitting here that was 3D printed. I don't know where it went. That was one of my first prints, was a Tardis. And I have a confession to make. We might lose some viewers here. I have a confession to make. I've never sat through an entire episode of Doctor Who. My kids watched it and loved it, but I've never sat through an entire episode. Just wasn't my bag. Oh! We got more stuff here. Jillian says we should do a 10-minute build challenge as a countdown. Maybe next time, but there'd be no way for people to show us. Although we could do it at the Makerspace. That's a good idea, Jillian. Be sure that when I go back and tell the team that idea, you take credit so I don't steal your idea. Chip Clark on Facebook got a Wazer today. That is awesome. That is awesome. I'd love to play with the Wazer. I may have to try to get my hands on one. Seems like it's pretty cool, though I got to admit, I used the Omax, and it was pretty amazing. The Omax about the same size. It's a different price range. I think it's about, I'm going to say 4 times as much as the Wazer, but it's also like 4 times as fast. Mark Ledford says, will there be a Maker Faire in Houston, Texas? The Maker Faires in most cities are run by local organizations. So if there's not one already, and I'm not going to pull it up because I don't want to break my internet right now, if there's not one already, then we need a local organization to decide to pick up the reins and run one. So if there's a group like a science center or a school or a college in Houston that would be a good fit, connect them with us. We'd love to have one in Houston. Joe, I agree, it should be fun. Robert Meck, you want to unsubscribe, I'm assuming, because I haven't sat through Doctor Who? Never an entire episode, I swear. I've never sat through an entire episode. Silver Maple, yeah, don't tell anyone, it's our secret. Just you and me and the 30-something other people watching. Alright, we've got like 3 minutes left before we go live to the Milwaukee Makerspace. I'm excited. We've been wanting to do this for a while. Pete brought this idea up as something that we could do that we had done years ago in the past before I worked at Make, and I thought it was a brilliant. Oh, thank you, Matt Hatter, for not unsubscribing. I thought Pete's idea was brilliant, and I was so happy that he brought it up because, I mean, I think this is cool. This is exciting. We got 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes before we go live to the Milwaukee Makerspace. Okay. Joe McFly says, bring out the Pete. Man, we got a lot of Wisconsin folks here excited. People who know Pete, who've been to the Milwaukee Maker Faire, I assume, or have been up to Milwaukee Makerspace. All right. This is going to be fun. 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes, and then we will begin the live stream. I was looking here to see if I had any of my DigiKey boards. They must all be up on my coffee table. I got some cool stuff here, but oh, here's one. Who's been watching The Boys on Amazon? There's the tracking device from The Boys on Amazon. Get it close to the camera here. They just used an Adafruit GPS module. Anyway, okay. Julian Franklin, there is a Maker Faire every year in Houston. Well, good. Awesome. I'd love to come to that one. There's like almost 200 Maker Faires around the world, so I haven't been able to go to each one, but man, I enjoyed Austin when I went. That was a lot of fun. And oh, we're almost ready to go live, but one last thing has come up that we need to make sure of that is working right. Hello from Orlando. Hello from Mexico. Robert Meck, the stream should be about a half hour. Just a little over a half hour. And we're going to give it another minute or two because it sounds like the Facebook one is going to do a blast right at 6:30 where it tells everybody. So I want to make sure that we start maybe when it says 6:30 on my clock now. I want to go to like maybe 6:31 or 6:32. And then we'll go live. All right. So I got coworkers looking at everything, telling me whether it's working. Juan Manuel Barrientos Acosta, hello from Mexico on Facebook. Robert Meck says he could drive to the Makerspace. maybe, by the time the stream's over. We'll see about that. Let's see here. Oh, too far. Robert Meck says it's too far. He's not going to go. All right, so let's see here. I think Facebook should be live now. I think we're almost ready to go. Michael Kaler, hello from Columbus, Ohio. Nice to see you, Michael Kaler. All right, let's do it. Let's do this. Welcome to our first live Makerspace Live. We're going to be talking with Makerspace, the Milwaukee Makerspace, in just a second here. This is a live stream, so feel free to ask us questions in your chat. You're on Facebook or you're on YouTube right now watching us. Ask us questions in the chat, and let's go and talk to them right now. Let's get started. Let's jump into it. So, hi guys.
Hi.
Hey.
Tell us, who are you and where are you?
So I'm Carl, and we have Pete here behind the camera. I think we heard some shout-outs to Pete in the chat before, and he can actually see the chat, so feel free to keep shouting out for Pete.
Hi, Pete.
Hey. Hello.
All right.
And we're going to give a brief tour of our space here. So we'll kind of walk you around our space. We're 1,600 square feet and like 350-ish members. We used to be a grocery store, if that gives you a sense of scale. But we'll walk you through our space and point out some interesting tools and some hopefully more interesting makers. I spend most of my time pointing at tools because my mother taught me it was not polite to point at people, but it's the people that are the key to our space, so we hope to introduce you to some of them while you're here.
Yes, please.
Excellent. So yeah, and again, feel free to shout out in the chat if you guys have questions. Pete's kind of keeping an eye on that ish.
I will. I'll be shouting randomly and interrupting you frequently to talk about comments.
Good. We encourage that kind of behavior here.
All right.
Excellent. So let's take a little walk here. So this is our meeting room right now, or it's our entry room, and we have makers all over the place working on stuff. So this is our Kathy. Our Kathy is working on a Maker Faire project right now, which happens in just a few days. Kathy, what are you working on?
I'm painting sticks for a project for Pete, our cameraman, and it's part of a larger thing. There's a larger installation in there. So a hanging dodecahedron for in our dark room at the Maker Faire. And I'm an artist and I like to paint, and Pete knows that. I like to paint things that are a little more interesting. I got a couple of paintings in this room. There's one over there. So anyhow, that's what I'm up to.
Oh, another one. You got one more painting here?
Yeah.
That's a Doctor Who painting, right?
Oh.
Oh, like right next to it. Come on, Caleb.
And this is our craft lab area here. So we have a number of activities that happen in our craft room. This is sometimes the quietest room in the makerspace. Not right now, but because we have Faith here working on a project sewing. You're sewing pants. Making some pants. So, it's like anything that has to do with fabric usually happens in our craft area here. We have some people who do cosplay kind of stuff who work out of the space and build interesting costumes here. What other kind of projects do you do here in the craft lab?
Mostly cosplay and costumes.
Okay, cool.
This is actually for Maker Faire for Jake, but other than that, mostly dresses, costumes, whatever I want to make.
Excellent. Jake is our resident knight in shining armor. He is somebody who works in our forge area, and he built himself a suit of armor here at the Makerspace that he likes to wear around and comes to our Maker Faire and waves at people and has a great time.
Oh, nice. Awesome. I got some hellos. Mike Sinise says hi. Julian JC Ditton says hi, Dad. I don't know if that's to me or you.
We have a small library here of making related books. If you look carefully, you can probably see some magazines that may or may not be familiar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Good collection there. Good collection.
And then this is our laser lab here. So the laser lab gets kind of noisy, so hopefully you guys will be able to hear me still.
I'll let you know if it gets too loud.
So we've got a number of lasers. Some of them are working right now. So Nick, right?
Yes.
Nick is working on a project right now, shooting laser beams and stuff. What are you working on, Nick?
I'm working on cutting out some stencils for this image here. We're painting a mural on the side of a building. So stencils help make that process go by a little faster.
Very cool.
So anything that plugs into a wall here, you need to get checked out on. Every area has an area champion that's a volunteer who's kind of involved in making sure people like Nick here, know how to use the tool safely for themselves and safely for the tool. The lasers are kind of a low barrier for entry and a high barrier for mastery. And that can be true of a lot of tools here in the Makerspace. People are here to make sure that you know how to use the tool safely for yourself and safely for the tool. But beyond that, mastering things is kind of on their own time and on their own determination.
That makes sense. Maker's Mashup says, hi, Pete. And
Hey.
something flashed across my screen about my microphone, so just let me know if you guys can't hear me, both on the chat and you guys in Milwaukee.
Okay.
Whoa, what's that? What's that on this hanging from the ceiling?
Crazy thing.
So we have a number of group projects that have occurred here in the past. So the project above me right now, this is one of 5 structures that went to Burning Man last year. So when it turns on, it lights up, and there's all sorts of blinky LEDs. If you've ever been to Burning Man, you know it's mostly a sales conference for light-emitting diodes. A lot of DigiKey products probably in Burning Man kind of stuff.
Probably.
It's an LED show for sure. But this is our 3D printing lab, so we've got a number of 3D printers here in the space. All of the tools, for the most part, are all owned by members and donated to the space for use by members. So the Makerspace, for the most part, doesn't purchase tools, but members bring their tools from home, and they know if they take their 3D printer and stick it next to a table saw, that both of those tools become more useful in some way, shape, or form, and it makes the Makerspace better. We love those people.
Nice.
We have another group build project going on over here that people who are familiar with Maker Fairs will recognize. This is our Power Wheels racing team area. Power Wheels racing is people take these cars that are meant for like 5 and 6-year-olds, and they take the bodies off and stick a grown person in them and make them go much faster, and we drive them around a track real fast. Power Wheels does not make a Wienermobile car, but they should, so we made it for them. And this is one of the cars made by our team of Power Wheels racers here, and they take it and drive it around a track at ludicrous speeds and fall off of a giant wiener.
And we occasionally win races with that.
Yeah.
I have seen this thing in action, and I believe last time I saw it, somebody was taking it up on 2 wheels around a curve.
Oh, that's highly likely. And we will be racing that at Maker Faire Milwaukee coming up next month, so that's going to be great too.
Yeah, that's appropriate behavior. Safety second. It's on the list.
Second,
Safety, it's on the list.
All right. What else we got, Carl?
So another group build project we have going on over here is our Dalek building area.
That's not a Dalek.
John.
Hey, John.
John's kind of the champion and leader of this area. Tell us about your Daleks.
Well, we're a cooperative Dalek building group, and I believe we're the oldest and largest cooperative Dalek building group in the world, at least in the free world.
Wow.
And we've lately branched out into R2D2s. We have fiberglass molds to do almost all the parts necessary. We invite people to come in. We're part of the Makerspace here in Milwaukee, and without the Makerspace, we couldn't do what we've done so far. So we are going to finish up our 14th Dalek this year since we've started, and that's all in-house, and there's very few parts that we actually have to buy from outside now.
Nice. So I've got some questions real quick, but first, Joseph Floyd on YouTube says hi to Pete and me. Some people have noticed that R2, but I've got some questions. Now, I know at the Maker Fairs, I've talked to some of the R2 builder groups, and they have like some specialized parts that are manufactured like within the group, that you can get nowhere else in the world. Is the Dalek building group kind of like that too, where you have like Dalek specific parts that some master?
There's many different variants on the Daleks. Each one has different parts to it. Some pieces, like the skirt, may be similar from the earliest. This is actually the same as the first 3 series of Daleks, the Shawcraft Daleks, except the lines have been straightened up slightly. So you could get away with substituting that. But we have, this is called the 2005, used to be called the New Series Daleks, but then they introduced some newer Daleks since then. So this is the one that we concentrate on in-house here. I don't say you can't take and build a different one, but we'd have to pretty much scratch build it. We do have machinists in our group who will make specific parts. Like here's the exterminator gun, has some specialized turnings here on the lathe. Our man Tom Klein over there does our machining.
Hi, Tom.
Hello. Also, the ear cages up here are very specific to the show. They're not found parts, so we do have specific parts. These are 3D printed parts that we made silicone molds for, and then resin cast here. It's a wide variety of pieces. We have wood pieces that we turn out on our 4x8 CNC printer, or router, I'm sorry. There's a lot of different ways you can do different parts. For instance, we also have molds for the parts that Tom turns to do them in resin if someone wants a less expensive piece. This is fiberglass. It could also be done in plastic, resin.
And I love this project because so when John started this project and built the first Dalek, he didn't know how to do any of this stuff.
None of the skills. I basically had a set of fiberglass molds dropped in my lap because the person who owned the molds, a man named Dave Duca from Oconto, Wisconsin, wanted to break the world's record for the largest gathering of Daleks, and he thought once he saw the Makerspace here that this was the place where we could apply industrial process to Dalek building and break that record.
And in true maker spirit, John said, I don't know how to do any of that, but let's get started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did he break the record?
We did have a record attempt.
We did.
Broke the record. We had 107 people, but it's not a Guinness record because of some technical points.
Oh, yeah. And I think you have to, don't you have to like pay them to come verify it? Anyway, we won't get into Guinness.
$1,000, they'll send a judge and get you your your record.
Yeah. Important Gaming Bagels on YouTube says, "Sup, Pete."
Hello.
All
So
right.
we're just logging through our
Yeah, let's
space
keep
here.
going. What else we got?
I don't know if you, John mentioned, but you can
what?
actually get inside of that Dalek and drive around.
You can. You
and
can
then
sit
you can
inside
yell
there.
at hipsters in the alleyway, which is the second most fun you can have here in our makerspace.
Second.
That caused car accidents possible.
No,
Well,
we
I
haven't
can
done
neither
that. We
confirm
haven't
nor
done
deny
that.
any of that.
What is that
activity.
thing, Carl?
So this is a giant.
I can't even get it in
3D
frame.
printer, that Tom is working on.
It's a giant what?
Yourself?
It's a giant 3D printer.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I'm going to start out by using one of the easier plastics, PLA, and then go over to extruding clay and making clay models.
Oh,
It's like
very nice.
just make ceramic.
Very nice.
What's the volume of that thing? What's it going to be?
Volume? Roughly a build area of 24 by 26 and about 6'2" tall.
Wow.
So do you have a kiln big enough to fire your ceramics after you print them in that?
Well,
We're working on it.
Tom's going to make one
We'll-
right after this.
We'll show you what we got. We'll get
All right.
there.
well, we've got a modular kiln, so
Yeah.
I'm not
We're not worried.
worried about that at this point.
Okay.
All right, Carl. What else we got here?
So most of this room is member storage. So as a member of the space here, people get a small amount of storage space that they can fill with lots of really valuable things, as you can see. And the other parts of this room are we have a jewelry area over here. Actually, John, who you met before, is the area champion for our jewelry area. He used to be a jeweler by trade, and now he builds life-size toys, which is fantastic. But we have students who come and work out of our space who are doing jewelry, and just makers who are generally interested. I remember a couple weeks ago somebody made their own wedding rings here at the space,
Oh, yeah.
and I think that's fantastic. and a great use of the area and forwarding people's maker knowledge and all that kind of stuff. We have a leather working area over here. So we've got a number of people who do some leather work here. Milwaukee is a heavy motorcycle-centric town. Whenever you have a bunch of motorcycles, you'll have people who like leather. And, people make seats and saddlebags and, like tassels make your motorcycle go faster.
That's
Little known
right.
fact.
Yeah.
But you can make all that kind of stuff here in our space.
Yeah.
Nice.
The giant vacuum former
Yeah,
there.
vacuum forming machine here. We've got a t-shirt press around the corner here. So if you're in need of a t-shirt, like for example, a Milwaukee Makerspace t-shirt, everybody should have one. You can make it right here at the space.
Yep. So a 4-color press with a spot heater, you can get pretty fancy with this thing.
Very cool.
And it'll heat press over here to press your designs or do vinyl things as well. Yeah.
This is our ceramics area. So
yeah.
we've got a number of some greenware here and some fired pieces that are waiting for glaze. And then this back here is our ceramics area. So we've got some electric wheels and a nice kiln.
Oh, so the kiln. So Caleb, that kiln is modular. We can stack it twice as high if we get more pieces. So basically, right now, when you forge your sword in there, it's a little tricky. So we want to get a little taller on that. So we can forge metal and swords in there as well as ceramics. So yeah, our ceramics guy is like, I want to make it twice as high. So we're working on it.
Okay.
The ceramics area is a regular classroom area for us. We're an all-adult makerspace. We don't have any kids here, so when I say classroom, I mean adult learning. We have volunteers who run our makerspace in every capacity. So from the classes to our board of directors, to people who clean the bathrooms, to area champions who help train people on pieces of machinery. They're all volunteers.
So if you're a member, are classes included in that? Or?
Yeah, so there are sometimes people ask for a small amount of money if there are materials involved in the class.
Donation.
So if you need a pile of clay, then like materials cost can be part of the class.
Yeah.
On the other side of that coin is each area is funded by the Makerspace by donations. So as part of your membership, $5 of your membership you can allocate towards various areas here in the Makerspace. So area champions have a small fund in which they're able to spend on materials or things that their area needs or that they feel their area needs. So depending on the funding in the area, they could run a class for free for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving. We're gonna
Excellent.
run out of time.
Just music and shutting on turn on.
So we'll walk through a couple areas that we've been through before en route to our CNC room.
Carl, what's that? A forklift?
Yeah, we got a forklift.
There's a forklift
You
there.
should have one. If you don't
Yeah.
have one in your garage, you should totally get one. They come in real handy.
And when you become a member, we can train you how to use it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, off to the left here, this is our CNC room. We'll avoid going in there because it can get kind of loud, and I'll kind of try to speak up so hopefully everybody can still hear me. But we've got a big 4x8 CNC machine there. That was a Makerspace project, so we had a member here at the space who built that machine in there, and then now teaches people how to use it. It's an amazing tool and a great thing to have, as well as a couple other smaller CNC machines in there. We have kind of CNC machines all over our Makerspace. We've got a couple of mills that run CNC. I would argue that the embroidery machine in the craft lab is a CNC machine. It runs from computer numeric control, so CNC machines everywhere. We have a couple of people back here working on a Tesla coil. Tell us about your Tesla coil project. This is fantastic.
Great. I'm Sam. I'm one of the makers here at the Makerspace. So this is my largest solid-state Tesla coil I have. It's roughly about 8 feet tall, and this one's hopefully going to produce between like 12 and maybe 16-foot arc length, all completely, computer modulated, so you can produce music with it as well. So Hopefully we're going to do some testing tomorrow night once I'm just kind of cleaning up most of the stuff here. So hopefully, as I'm knocking on the wood, nothing catastrophic goes. So
That looks really cool.
we'll have 2 of these larger ones for the Maker Faire, along with 2 smaller ones, roughly about half the size, and then 2 other really big disruptive Tesla coils for our Tesla show that we're doing. So
Very nice.
We have a Tesla show at Makerspace or at Maker Faire every year, and it's like one of my favorite things at the fair. Our Daleks drive into the Tesla coil area, covered in a Faraday cage, and our knight in shining armor rigged his suit up so he can go in there, and it turns his suit into a Faraday cage, which is super awesome. Man really freaks his mother out,
Nice.
but it's cool that he does it.
Yeah. So, we got a
And
hello.
then behind you guys here, this is our forge area. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, we got a hello from Korea Makerspace, and we got a question from James Newton on Facebook. He's trying to start a Makerspace, and he's curious what percentage of your rent or expenses comes from membership.
100% of our rent comes from membership. So we don't get any sponsorship or take any kind of grants or anything like that. We were really fortunate that we were able to grow from our 30 or so members back in 2009 when this space got started. So the space got started in a member's garage. We really grew super organically over that time period. And I think that one of the keys to our growth has been our commitment that everybody here is a volunteer. So Makerspace is nobody's job. We don't have a benevolent dictator who kind of guides our path, and takes a salary. And because nobody takes a salary or gets paid, we're able to do things on a shoestring here. So we got a building because we had an investors group of people who were willing to put in the initial dollars to purchase the building. And now 2 years ago, our membership purchased the building from that investors group for a fantastic price. And now the membership not only runs the space, but we own the space that we're in too, which is awesome.
Oh yeah.
And I credit all of our volunteers and people who are willing to volunteer their time checking out people so they know how to use these tools. And our board of directors, we have a 7-member board of directors that cycles through every 6 months that volunteer their time to keep the lights on and make sure everything runs smoothly.
Very cool. All right, continue.
Yeah. So we got our forge area here. Again, and all these tools are tools that we accumulated over time. Everything here in the space we got just in time, not just in case. So the forge happened because we had enough people who were saying, hey, we want to have a forge, and got together their own dollars and managed to put one together. A lot of things are kind of hacked together here in the space, and this is kind of one of those areas that gets hacked together by members as needed.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Fun sandblaster over here, and then this is our metal finishing area. If you got that shiny object syndrome like I do, this is your favorite area.
That's a familiar sound.
A lot of wheels.
And then this is a surprisingly active area in our Makerspace. This is our forge. So we've got a number of blacksmiths who work out of our space here. That's our forge when it's on. It's amazing to me the things that people can make. It's stuff like this was made by making metal really hot and then banging on it real hard with a hammer. And I think that's fascinating and amazing.
And that's done in a class, I think, that Dan, our blacksmith, does. So first timers make those.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And Dan's one of those. Dan is one of our oldest members, or our longest running members. I shouldn't say oldest members, but Dan's one of those members who, if he finds out you're forge curious, then he makes you take his class and you make a hook. So this is somebody's hook. And then from your hook, you move on to making the trivet. It's banging on hot metal, I think, is super cathartic.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of people who are like electrical engineers in their day job come here after work and they heat metal up and bang on it real hard, and it becomes a release for them. I think.
Well, yeah, Dan's a software engineer by trade.
Yeah.
So he stares at a keyboard all day, and he wants nothing more than to smash a hammer into something at the end of the day. So.
Percussive therapy, right?
You got it. Yeah.
So I think by now you guys kind of get the idea that like anything that you need to make can be made here at the space.
Yeah.
You know, and we attract people that really are making curious. People start off in the forge area and they look over to the welding area and say, oh, I'd like to learn how to do that. That looks kind of interesting. And this is our welding area. So we've got MIG welding and TIG welding, you know, plasma cutting. We got a number of artists who work out of our space, and some of those artists are kind of in the metalwork area right now. So, every area that we walk through has a hack rack in it, and this is all like materials that are available for you to use as you see fit. We don't have a lot of rules here at the space. Really, the only rule is to be excellent to each other. So, as you're taking materials off of a shelf, or you know, using an area, you can decide what excellence means to you. Maybe that means, hey, I made my whole project from stuff I found on the hack rack, so I should put $5 in the donation bucket.
Yeah.
You know.
So, Don Roswick on YouTube is asking, what are your hours of operation? When can people access the space?
So when you're a member, you get a little key fob that gets you access 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And there are members here 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, including Christmas, especially Christmas, because everybody's finishing up their last minute Christmas projects. We try to keep loud making to a minimum after 9 p.m. We're in a residential area here. We have neighbors we respect and enjoy. And we don't want to keep them up all night because we're banging on a forge or grinding in our welding area here. So we try to encourage people to keep loud making to happen before 9 p.m. But otherwise, we have people who are here all the time.
Yeah, and if you're not a member and you want to come check it out, any Tuesday at 7 p.m., which is, that's tonight in a few minutes. So it's actually our open night tonight. So we'll probably have some guests and people come in and want to find out more, take a tour, etc.
So open house Tuesday night. Very nice.
Tuesday at 7, yeah.
On Facebook, Judy Dugan is asking if there are makerspaces in Canada. Yes, Judy, there are. Look in really just Google Makerspace in the name of your city, or we're kind of trying to collect a map of some of them, but it's really difficult to keep a map of all of them that are out there. But there are lots in Canada. It depends on where you're at in Canada. All right, let's see. What do we got here? What's this?
This is the outside of our wood shop here. So we've got a number of tools that hang out outside of our wood shop here, and then our wood shop is probably pretty loud, so maybe I won't go in there. But take my word for it, it's amazing.
Let's take a quick break here. We're looking around. Lots of and sanders and that's a wood shop, all right.
That's also the best smelling room in the makerspace because it always smells like amazing wood.
Oh, yeah, if you love wood.
Table saws and jointers and oh my. A lot of people have like a wood shop or a wood family history. Like my grandfather was a carpenter. A lot of people have that connection to that kind of making in their family history. So sometimes making things can be a good way to reconnect to those family roots, and people get a lot of enjoyment out of that. We've got more hack rack here and storage and stuff. And then this is our metal shop.
Metal shop, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a number of machinists working out of the space, and tools for people to, purchase for a donation if they'd like to give it, if they need a tool. Again, all these tools were like member owned and member donated. We've got a Bridgeport machine that used to be hanging out in one of our members' garages, and now it's here in the Makerspace where it can sit next to a nice South Bend lathe. We had a group buy a little bit ago for a Tormach that we put together. a new feature. People are always working on things here at the space. A lot of members choose to make Makerspace their project. And this is one of those areas. So these are key fob stations. So in order to turn on the tool, you need to fob in here. And that kind of helps us make sure that people have been checked out to use the tool who are turning on the tool and are members here at the space. So you scan your badge and then you can use the tool, which is great.
Yeah, so it helps control access to the machine and also log your use of it. You know, if we come in and like something's broken, we can kind of see who used it last and, you know, talk to them, see what happened.
So we've got James Newton again on Facebook asking kind of along those lines. Oh, I just lost it. Here it is. You know, how do you handle safety, lawsuits, etc.? They heard that just liability releases aren't effective. You know, that I know that's a huge question, and we don't really probably have time to go into like super in depth in it. But just real quick, how do you guys handle basic safety in your shop? And James, we've got some articles on that on MakeZine if you want to search it up, or I don't really know where to look to find the best info on that. All right, guys, how do you handle safety in your shop?
So all of our trainers really hammer home personal protective equipment. You know, we really make sure that when people are working on a machine that they have eye protection and they have hearing protection and they have breathing respiratory protection, you know, if it's called for. We haven't had any issues up until this point, knock on wood, so we've been super fortunate. You know, but I think that people in general don't want to hurt themselves as much as we don't want them to hurt themselves. And as long as we provide them the information that they need in order to not hurt themselves, they won't. So, you know, everybody is super approachable here at the space. We're always talking to each other. And, you know, if I'm not sure how to do something, I know that I can talk to the person next to me and be like, hey, I'm about to do this thing. Do you think this is the most safe way to do it? And people are pretty open and sharing, and we really focus on that personal protection.
And we also we kind of strongly encourage people to, if you don't know how to do something, ask someone. If you see someone doing something and you think it's unsafe, you know, check in with them. Say, hey, you know, do you know what you're doing? Do you need any help? Or if they're not comfortable, you know, let someone else know. Yeah, safety is definitely an important thing here. We all know that if, you know, we're not safe and bad things happen, the whole place could go away. So I think we've got a pretty good eye on safety.
I've been checked out to use this South Bend lathe here, but if I'm going to do an operation that I've never done on this lathe, I'm going to go talk to somebody who's got a lot more knowledge, because sometimes you can cut off your finger if you do something wrong. This lathe will take your arm off, and like I like both of my arms. They're really useful.
They're nice looking.
Yeah, well, thank you.
The companies that insure these spaces also, if they're familiar with the Makerspaces, they can tell you what your safe coverage is, James. So maybe talk with insurance agencies and be sure to find one that's familiar with Makerspaces. And then they can answer those questions for you a little bit better than I could. All right, so let's keep going.
Yeah, so I think we're kind of wrapping up here. How much longer do we have before...
Kyle, is that a Tormach?
This is a Tormach.
Is that another Tormach?
Yeah, this is another Tormach.
Weird.
The Tormach is one of the few things that we have purchased here for the Makerspace. So we had a member who decided that he wanted us to have a modern CNC machine. And then at every Tuesday meeting, he showed up and said, hey, we're trying to raise the money for this CNC machine. Hey, we're trying to raise the money for this CNC machine. And eventually, we raised enough money for the CNC machine. And now we have a number of people checked out to use it. You can see these name badges on the side. This is the project that Larry has everybody do in order to get checked out on the machine, so they know how to use the tool safely. There's my name right there.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we've got another Tormach that was a donation from somebody who had a machine shop locally and just decided that he wanted his machine to go to good use, and he knew about us, so he gave it to us, which is fantastic.
Awesome.
Very cool. Very cool.
I think our meeting is happening right now.
Yeah, let's swing into the meeting room. Oh, electronics lab and meeting room, I guess, is next.
All right.
Well, that's about there.
We might have everybody wave to you guys in a second here.
Then that had led me to, why not just make a bigger base? That way I know the thing's not going to tip over. So back to Fusion 360 for me. So that's that. And then one of my other projects that I was working on was for this little business venture that I was trying to do. This was supposed to be a box where there's a VTX module inside here that would transmit to a receiver, a monitor that has a receiver built into it. So this was supposed to go on a traffic signal cabinets, and in my design, I've got it cut out for a 40 millimeter fan, and then ventilation. So this was all new for me. Haven't done much. This was my first project with Fusion 360. So any kind of design, but then it had evolved to suction cups that you push in and then slide up, and then it lock into place, and you can stick it on top of the cabinet. Don't know how well that'll work yet. Prototype.
Awesome. Thanks.
Looks like a
Well, yeah.
Carl's next.
Oh,
Carl's next.
Hold on,
Come
can I interrupt
Hold
for
on,
just
hold
1
on.
second?
Go ahead.
So I just want to interrupt. This is our meeting that we have every week here. These are some of our members and some of our guests. This is Make Magazine. Everybody wave to Make Magazine. You just showed up
everybody.
Make Magazine, just so you know.
All right, we're live on the internet, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, thank you.
All right, cool. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay.
As you were.
So, going
Oh,
back-
that's so cool.
This is our electronics lab over here.
Lots of DigiKey
Yeah.
parts there, hey, Carl? Wow.
Lots of DigiKey cups. They're
Yeah.
fantastic.
What's happening here?
We've got a small digital creation area, so Photoshop and people who are interested in photography or videography, people can come in here and work on those kind of projects here.
What's up
And then
there?
we've got a little sound booth and more
Yeah.
art. There's art all over here at the space. I hope people have seen that. A lot of artists, people who don't consider themselves artists, are definitely artists. If you make something like this, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
And this is going to be at Maker Faire Milwaukee as well, in our dark room, a project Adrian's been working on for a while.
Nice.
Yeah. What else we got, Carl?
Oh man, so many people.
I think we're
It's wonderful.
back where we started. Are we back where we started?
Yeah, and we've come full
Back
circle
where we
here.
started.
Yeah, so,
Very
you know,
nice.
we did probably 15 or 20 guests who come to each of our Tuesday meetings, which is fantastic. Our membership grows constantly, and we try to keep membership growing at a steady-ish rate. We ask people come to 2 meetings before they become a member, because we want people to give us their time before they give us their money. We think that that's more valuable, so we ask for that first. We also want to have the time to recognize that somebody is a sane, well-adjusted member of society before we let them become a member of our space. You know, and that
Diode Magazine is asking if you have a way online for your members to communicate, like when they're not there in person.
We do, yeah. We have a members-only forum on Google that we use, you know, and that it becomes a communication route for how do I get checked out on machine X, or when is the next class for Y, or just general questions like, hey, I'm thinking about making a terrarium for carnivorous plants, which is a thing that happened.
Over there.
And, you know, people ask questions and give information and try to share and make or explain to each other how things work.
All right. Wonderful. Well, I think we've gone full circle, and unless there's something else you guys want to show us, I think that's where we'll end the tour.
Awesome.
We're excited to be sitting in the audience watching other Makerspace tours in the upcoming months here. This is great.
Yeah, this is awesome. All right, guys, I'm going to switch over. Thank you so much for giving us the tour tonight. Once again, I want to thank DigiKey for sponsoring this. If it weren't for our sponsors like DigiKey, we could not do these incredible things. We could not support the maker community with these things like live streams. So thank you so much to DigiKey for doing this. And thank you, Makerspace, the Milwaukee Makerspace. I keep saying Maker Faire Milwaukee. Thank you, Milwaukee Makerspace, for giving us the tour, showing us. Everybody out there, check them out. What's your website?
It's MilwaukeeMakerspace.org.
Milwaukee
If you're in the
Makerspace.
Milwaukee area, you should come by and visit.
.org. And also, if you're in the area, you should know that they're throwing a Maker Faire as well, that Pete was just showing us the flyer for in September. That's in like 2 weeks. And it is a free admission Maker Faire. So get your behind there. It's going to be awesome. All right. Thank you
And if
guys
you're
so
not
much.
a member or you're not in the Milwaukee area, you should look up Makerspace because there is a Makerspace near you, and you should go and take part in it for sure.
The Maker Fairs, absolutely. That's makerfair.com. All right. Thank you guys so much. We will see you next time.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
And thank you for joining us. Even though my video seems to have cut out on my end, my screen's locked up. So if you're still there, I can't tell. So thank you for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now, and we'll see you again next month.